Peace, peace. All right. Make sure y'all tell your friends that we on live right now. It's going to be a good class. Hopefully, you'll learn some things. Peace, brother Joshua. How you been doing, God? No, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Think that snaps. Appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate y'all coming on. You know, Shy. Brother, eat shy. Yeah, I tell you what, to ish. All right, tell me if y'all can see the screen when I put up the pictures. Brother Straight Panther, peace, God. Hmm. A what? Warrant. Yeah, they doing all types of shit nowadays. I peace, y'all. Yeah, what you got?
There's some shit they make y'all making us
They doing all types of shit. They doing all types of stuff now. Telling you. That's why it's imperative that you learn your rights. You know what I'm saying? To keep them on task.
Yeah, that's what it said. It's electronic warrant or e-warrant. It's a digital authorization that allows law enforcement to legally conduct searches, seizures, or surveillance related
There you
to
go.
investigations.
That's what I'm talking about. They doing all types of shit now.
It's bullshit because it's got to be on the oath of information. It's real constitutional. It's got to be on the oath of information. That's some shit they made up for people don't educate themselves. They fall for dumb shit like that. That's a little dumb ass trap you put on.
Yeah, they making all types of stuff up.
Yeah.
Because we becoming more conscious. Yeah. The more we become conscious, the more they're gonna make stuff up.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're gonna already say, well, everything going to the computer anyway.
Yeah.
So that's the first idea. Put everything to the computer. That means warrants. That means summons. That means even them summon you to court. You know what I mean? They doing all of that now. So, don't let that bother you. Keep doing what we doing because they still have to do everything by the Constitution. And number one, that's a violation of the Constitution. So that's the first thing you bring up because what does that give you protection in your papers? That's not a paper. That's based on the Fifth Amendment. Right. To have protection with your papers and your other home and, items. You know what I mean? So, but right here, let's look at settlement certificate. A settlement certificate is also known as a birth certificate. It's called a settlement certificate. This is why when you open up your UCC trust account at this Treasury Department, okay, you send them a copy of your birth certificate. And you authenticate it. Well, you don't authenticate it. You will stamp it for conditional value, front and back. Okay? Front and back. And this is the long form that you get from the Secretary of State. So that's what you would do. All right. So a settlement certificate is also known as a birth certificate since 1837. It is an official document issued to validly record poor or pauper, granting them certain basic rights and entitlement to benefits in exchange for recognition of their status as being owned as property and lawful slaves, also known as indentured servants.
Indentured servants?
Indentured servants. That's deep. Did y'all hear that? Oh, yeah. Right through the back. You know where it is? Okay. All right. So, once again, a birth certificate is for the poor. All right. This is what it says. Is a recorded poor or pauper, granting them certain basic rights and entitlements to benefits in exchange for recognition of their status as being as property and lawful slaves, also known as indentured servants. That's the signs of the birth certificate. So why do you get the birth certificate authenticated?
So mine says all debts have been paid in full, something like that's what mine says. This I can go in court and show them that.
Right.
But I gotta keep that roll rate on it.
Well,
I can't rip it off.
Right. Well, you want to keep the seal on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the science right there. What you just finished saying. Think about it. Okay. You get your birth certificate authenticated. Now that it's authenticated, all right, you get it authenticated at the state and at the federal level. All right. So now you come back in control of your seat. You're no longer property or identified as an indentured servant. Essentially, they signed off on it, that you no longer is that. You now are an estate holder and holder in due course. Okay, and I get to all of that in a
So
second.
basically, when you do that, basically you're like, because at one point you're like a minor.
Right,
So now you're saying, I'm taking over.
Right.
I'm
right. I'm taking
got
over
the
that
right.
seat.
I got the right, yeah.
Right, and what is the seat? The seat is what is known as, quote unquote. Think about this now. The seat is called the executor's seat or the executress seat.
Well, I have a question.
Mhm.
My grandbabies, they signed off on the birth certificate. How
Right.
can we get that cleared up? And they still babies.
Oh, that's fine. Just do a UCC
Okay. And we do it again.
and do a title of ownership of those birth certificates, an affidavit, a title of ownership of those birth certificates. Because that's what you will also add in with your authentication process, which you did at the state level and at the federal
Oh,
level.
it's the same process then.
It's the same
So
process.
we can do it for the babies too.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
same process. Same process.
Okay, he's like, yeah, I think that he's talking about, you gotta get a copy of this certificate. You gotta
Right.
send it off. Like he said, they signed it off.
Right.
Because you got that right.
Right.
But you gotta get copies tonight.
But you want to also add a affidavit title of ownership of the BC, which is the birth certificate. Right. And that puts you back into your executor office. All right. Or your executress office as a female. Put you back into office.
So basically now you own that trust.
Basically, you are now the president of the slave or the master of the slave. The slave is the name in all caps, which is on the birth certificate.
I own him now.
Now there you go. Now you own,
See what you're talking about? That's like you gotta do your certificate. You gotta send it to these places.
right.
Where the affidavit is.
Right. That's where you got to go. Exactly. All right. So, we went over this last class about things that you would say in court, not to get within their jurisdiction. Okay. Of course, they're going to ask you, where do you live? What do you say? Exactly. That's exactly what you say, in my body. All right. So if they ask you, but you live in the state of North Carolina, don't you? What do you say?
I don't know about the name. Carol. No, you say state of nature. I'm in the state of nature.
Okay, there you go. That's a good answer. I'm in the state of nature.
Because then it might change the name at all. So you gotta stay away from the name thing. You gotta say, look, we know where the name from. In the state of nature.
What would you say?
Stay on the land, basically.
Right. Do you live in the city of Raleigh or the city of?
It's supposed to be at Raleigh. Right?
I travel to Raleigh. I live in my body.
I live in my body, right?
So
Or-
Raleigh is a corporation, right?
Or I domicile in North America. You make it vast.
Yeah.
All right. Or, North Carolina Republic territory. They're gonna ask you, do you live at this address? What's the answer that you would say?
Carol?
You can say in care of.
I stay there from time to time.
Or I stay there from time to time under threat of arrest and coercion. Okay. Or this is a temporary mailing location that I sometimes use under threat of arrest and coercion.
All right, that one too.
Mm-hmm.
It's temporary.
Okay.
They just don't tell you
So
something.
why on the threat the rest of coercion?
Just because you try something.
Because they're trying to attach you to a place in which that they claim that you stay at. But do you stay there all the time? No, you leave.
Right.
They're trying to force you into a contract.
Right, they trying-
That's-
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
That's why he's saying, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're trying to force you into that.
Under threat, duress, and coercion.
Yeah.
If you need to, just remember everything is under threat, duress, and coercion. That's the only reason why you in court. Otherwise, I wouldn't have came.
Right.
I'm only here under threat, duress, and coercion.
Right.
And every time you say that, they can't get you on anything. If you simply just stick to threat, duress, and coercion. Your Honor, I'm only here on the threat, duress, and coercion. When they ask you, when they call your name on the roll, I'm here on the threat, duress, and coercion.
What if they ain't sign name? What do we say?
I don't have a
You
name.
say your name if you want under direct arrest and coercion. Everything is under direct arrest and coercion. You see what I'm saying?
That's like I'm gonna do too, on everything, you're right.
Right. Everything
Every
is
time it
under.
feels like it's a verbal contract,
Right.
just say that, yeah.
Right. Right. Just say that.
Force.
Yeah, man, for it,
Right. Because that's what they're gonna try to get you on.
Because they're recording it,
Right.
yeah. Verbal contract.
and they gotta respect your rights once you say
Right.
that.
It's a verbal contract. And once again, they're gonna say everything is under threat, duress, and coercion. That's what you say. Because that's what it is. Because if you didn't come to court, they're gonna issue you a what? A warrant. And the cops or the police, rather, I should say, or the sheriffs, deputies will come and pick you up. So that's under threat, duress, and coercion.
I looked up my stuff, man, I don't see no warrant though, I don't know.
Well, that's good.
I mean, I guess my paper went through, because every time they would send me a letter, I read them back and read it,
Right.
and let them know I wish not to make.
But there you go. Yeah. I mean, they know what it is. They just want to see if you're gonna give up your rights.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? That's all it is. They want to see if you're gonna give up your rights. You give up your rights, they got you. You're going to jail for how many years that they gonna put on you. Yeah. That's why you don't give up no rights. Because number one, the court can't issue rights. What rights do the court issue you? You have unalienable rights, inalienable rights. That's by nature, that's by God. And if there's no injured party, Sherrill versus Cullen states, for a crime to exist, there must be an injured party. So if there's no injured party, no one is hurt, there's no damaged property. Therefore, everything is threat, duress, and coercion.
That's right.
I don't have to accept anything in which that you're saying, because I do not consent to these proceedings.
because they're gonna try to hit you with a colorful law too.
Of course.
Tell them you don't follow in front of that.
Right.
They're gonna try to hit you.
And the only thing you got to say is, like I said the last time, did you take your oath to the statute, codes, rules, regulations, ordinances, or policies? Or did you take your oath to the Constitution?
Right.
Because that's the only thing they took their oath to was to the Constitution. They didn't take their oath to the statute, which they claim that you violated.
Right.
Well, that's a statute. That don't supersede your rights. And the Constitution guarantee your rights. Don't issue rights. The Constitution doesn't even issue rights. So the court can't issue rights. Legislation through Congress can't issue rights. They can't do any of that. And anything that's approaching that, that's a violation of the Constitution and is null and void, as if it never existed, and you don't even have to pay attention to it. It's just a worthless law that they put on the books. Like this laws right now in the state of North Carolina that ain't nobody listening to. Right now. Okay? So, and everywhere else too. I mean, there's laws that nobody has to listen to. Matter of fact, not even being listened to. So right here, this is a notice to the county clerk. The minute you receive an affidavit, it is recorded. Now, this is you talking to the clerk, all right? Because sometimes they will act as if they're not going to file your documents. Should you refuse to record my affidavit, once deposited with you, you are committing a crime against justice under statutes of large section 5403, and it is punishable to up to $2,000 fines and 3 years imprisonment. And this is you talking to the clerk for not registering or recording or filing or registering your documents. All right? She's violating the law, not you. All right. So if you're
affidavits, they don't
right, $2,000 fine and 3 years imprisonment.
So if I go there and put my affidavit and I get file stamp copy,
Right.
then they try to say it's not in there, but I got a file stamp copy, basically, right? So
No, I'm saying if they don't even take your documents.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If your county attorney told you not to file any document like mine, you're still responsible, as I do not accept any third-party interveners. Any attorney, district attorney, or anyone from the law and craft or all third parties and do not have a license to make a legal determination in this matter, as they do not represent me and you. The county clerk do not have the authority to represent me. All right. So here is section 5403. This is what it says. This is crimes against justice. Every person who willfully destroys or attempt to destroy or with intent to steal or destroy takes and carries away any record, paper, or proceedings of a court of justice filed or deposited with any clerk or officer of such court, or any paper or document or record filed or deposited in any public office or with any judicial or public official or officer shall, without reference to the value of the record, paper, document, or proceedings so taken, pay a fine of no more than $2,000 or suffer imprisonment at hard labor no more than 3 years or both. So see, this is what I'm talking about. You have to learn the laws to keep them on track. All right? That's what you want. Now, this is the science of an affidavit, why everything must be written in the form of an affidavit. You don't want a motion because the judge can deny a motion. That's what he has the authority in order to deny. So you don't never want to send in any document that's a motion. All your documents that you send into court or that you file within the criminal justice section, all right, of Superior Court or District Court should be, once again, an affidavit. All right, an affidavit. The affidavit, commerce in everyday life is the vehicle or glue that holds or binds the corporate body politic together. More specifically, commerce consists of a mode of interacting, doing business, or resolving dispute whereby all matters are executed under oath, certified on each party. Commercial liability by sworn affidavit or firm affidavit in our case, or what is intended to possess the same effect as true, correct, and complete, not misleading truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. This affidavit is usually required for an application for a driver's license, IRS Form 1040, or voter vehicle registration, a direct treasury account, a notary copy certification, or certifying a document, and on nearly every single document that the system desires others to be bound or obligated. Such means of signing is an oath or commercial affidavit executed under penalty of perjury, truth, correct, and complete. Whereas in a court setting, testimony, which is oral statement, is stated in judicial terms by being sworn or affirmed to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. In addition to asserting any matters under solemn oath or affirming of personal, commercial, financial, and legal liabilities for the validity of each and every statement, the participant must provide material evidence. So you must provide material evidence. All right. If you don't have the material evidence when you go to court, then you have shit creek. You must have material evidence. You must have an affidavit that you have already sent to court prior to you going. All right. So the reason why, because according to the 10 maxims of law, let me read this. There are 10 essential maxims or precepts in commercial law, because that's what you're dealing with, commercial law. Maritime law is commercial law. UCC law is commercial law. All of that is commercial law. All right. So what controls commercial law is an affidavit. That's how you bring things back onto the land from out the water, is by way of your affidavit. Okay. That's how you transform the court into a common law arena, is by way of your affidavit. Okay? Nothing else. is your affidavit. All right, let me explain. All right, we see the first one. It says a workman is worthy of his hire. 2, all are equal under the law. 3, in commerce, truth is sovereign. Hold up. That's important right there. In commerce, truth is sovereign. How would you express your truth? It would have to be on the form of an affidavit. That's the only way that your truth is going to be expressed, and that's the only way that you can prove that you are sovereign. It's about way of your affidavit. And the sovereign means that you are above statute, codes, rules, regulations, ordinances, and policies.
I submit a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
I got file stamp copies and everything. Like I'm talking about, I put like everything we talking about right now. Like I have a natural soul, like which who you want to deal with all caps. Like I was giving them a choice.
Right,
you want to deal
right.
with the real natural man,
Right.
or you want to deal with this? Like I'm broke it all down.
Well, they can't deal with the natural, so
Well, that's basically what the affidavit that submitted that you helped me do, right?
that's what it's for. It said truth is expressed in the form of an affidavit.
And I keep hearing that. Everybody says do it all on paper and affidavit. I keep hearing like
Right.
videos.
Because you need a paper trail.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're explaining it better now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is the reason?
Right.
Yeah.
You need a paper trail.
That's right.
Mhm.
Your paper trail give you the ability in order to stay, hold up, Exhibit A, I sent this in such and such date. There was no reply from the DA. Therefore, I submit that this case be over.
I gave him 72 hours, but I never got a response.
You're not. So in truth, in commerce, truth is sovereign. This is what it says. There is one, this one is one of the most comforting maxims one could have. And your foundation is for your peace of mind and your security and your capacity to win and triumph to get your remedy in this business. In commerce, truth is sovereign. This is even from your Bible. It's Exodus 20:16, Psalms 117:2, John 8:32, and 2 Corinthians 13:8. Truth is sovereign, and the sovereign tells only the truth. Your word is your bond. If truth was not sovereign in commerce, then i.e. all human actions and interactions, there would be no basis for anything. Basically, it would be the wild, wild west. Everybody go for theirs. All right. So the truth must be expressed in the form of an affidavit. That's the fourth one. All right. This is Leviticus 5:4-5, Leviticus 6:3-5, Leviticus 19:11 through 13, Numbers 32:2, Matthew, yeah. So truth is expressed in the form of an affidavit. This is what it says. An affidavit is your solemn expression of your truth, not the courts, of your truth. In commerce, an affidavit must be occupied. You got it?
Yeah.
And must underlay and form the foundation for any commercial transaction whatsoever. So it's the affidavit that does all of that. There can be no valid commercial transaction without someone putting their neck on the line and stating this is the truth, correct, complete, and not meant to mislead. When you issue an affidavit, it has a two-edged sword. It cuts back and forth. Anyone has to take responsibility for saying that it is a real situation. It can be called a true bill. So your affidavit is called a true bill. Now, normally, you get this true bill when they prosecute you. But your affidavit can be the true bill before they can even prosecute you. Because your affidavit can state that I don't consent to these proceedings. Sherwood versus Collins, there's no injured party, no damaged property. Therefore, this court is operating under fraud, is a violation of Constitution, Amendment number 5, because this violates due process of law, which means that I'm supposed to be found innocent before proven guilty. In this case, you already have me guilty before being proven innocent. That's a violation. You took your oath to the Constitution. Therefore, I advise you to follow the Constitution. And I'm only in these proceedings because of threat to arrest or coercion. That's essentially how you write your affidavit. I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen. The 14th Amendment was never fully ratified. You see the video, right? You watched it? All right. And the Dred Scott case states that I'm not a citizen, nor will I ever be. So if they say, well, that's an old law, what do you say?
The Constitution
So it's the Constitution.
Thank you.
is older.
Right, the Constitution go back over 100
They don't
years.
say that, though.
It don't matter. And the Constitution that you took your oath to is 100 years older than that, Your Honor. Now what? Because the Dred Scott was 1856, 1857.
Yeah.
The Constitution was 1789. So it's 70 years, 70 years, older.
That was a good affidavit you put for you.
Yeah.
In Johnson County.
Yeah. And then,
That was a good one. Because that thing broke everything down.
You broke all that down?
Yep,
All right, there we go.
Okay.
All right, there we
It's
go.
like 3 pages though.
All right,
It's
that's
a lot.
yeah,
You
that's
got
fine.
notarized like that. Y'all don't notarize here, do you?
No.
What you do for the first time copy? Until you put it up. Put it down. You got it. You put it up, right?
So an affidavit is your solemn expression of your truth. In commerce, an affidavit must be occupied and must underlay and form the foundation for any commercial transaction whatsoever. There can be no valid commercial transaction without someone. In other words, if you don't put your affidavit forward and they state what they say and you don't ever rebut it, then that means you acquiesced, which means that you put yourself under their jurisdiction because you had nothing to rebut what they put out,
in court,
what they stated. Yeah, or either through the mail. Okay. So right here. So once again, it can be called a true bill, as they say in the grand jury. When you issue an affidavit in commerce, you get the power of an affidavit. This is why you want an affidavit, because you get the power of an affidavit. You don't get the power of a motion. The judge can deny a motion as soon as he said, oh, motion denied. But he can't deny an affidavit. So you never want a motion.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So in reality, my lady, when she go to court, she really don't have to say nothing. She just say, I'm here on the threat of rest of corrosion, I already submitted paperwork.
There you
That's
go.
all she really got to say, right?
There you go.
and it's on the record.
There you go. They got it.
Yeah, she really had to say that.
Because I watched a video where the guy says, once you go in there, just tell them, hey, I put everything on paper.
But in my
Right.
case, I got to go before a judge, right?
You just put in your documents?
Yeah.
Your
But I never went
affidavits?
before a judge yet. After I filed
It don't matter.
It don't matter.
Whenever you do go, then you just simply say what we just said. I'm
Yeah.
only here on the threat of arrest or coercion. My document should speak for itself.
Yeah.
Just tell me you're making a special appearance.
My
I submitted
affidavit-
paperwork.
My affidavit should speak for itself.
Right.
You see?
And leave it at that. He's right.
Right.
And they're going to try to make you sign some paper. What's your address? They're going to hit you with that what you talking about.
Mhm.
But you don't go back because you already put everything on paper.
Right.
Ain't nothing to talk about.
Right.
Good
So
question, Judge.
Because the affidavit was speaking on the Constitution. And
Yeah.
everything.
right.
But when I put it for you,
All your documents.
Yeah.
When you issue an affidavit in commerce, you get the power of an affidavit. You also incur the liability because it has to be a situation where other people might be adversely affected by it. So if there's nobody else affected by it, then your affidavit anyway stands as truth. Things may change your affidavit in which that you're going to affect people's lives. If what you say in the affidavit is not true, then those who are adversely affected can come back at you with justifiable recourse because you lied. So your affidavit must tell your truth. All right. An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in commerce. Excuse me, Jan, I'm only here on the threat of arrest or coercion. My affidavit has been sent in. The DA has them, has yet to rebuttal. Unrebutted affidavit stands the truth in commerce.
So the DA had to respond to the affidavit.
Of course.
If not,
They didn't respond.
you just submitted it.
And they're not going to.
No.
And that's the point.
So that's the way you got to say it's been rebutted.
An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in commerce.
But she didn't respond.
And she's not.
Right. Exactly.
Once again, Jan, I'm only here on the threat of arrest and coercion. My affidavits have been sent in prior to me coming. The DA has a copy of my affidavits. The DA did not rebut my affidavits, and an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in commerce.
Oh, okay.
So they would have had to rebut it.
Right.
But the being that they
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah.
okay.
Claims made in the affidavit, if not rebutted, emerges as truth of the matter.
Also, when they come out, they gotta have affidavits against you too, right?
Huh?
If it's true against what they talking about, right?
If they can write an affidavit in order to say what's what.
But they will have to verify it too. On the
Yeah.
oath. Yeah.
Well, they can't verify. What they
They're
gonna
not
do?
it.
Yeah.
Right. What they gonna do? Verify the Dred Scott case, which they all learned that in college.
Right.
That's what they
I mean,
seem like.
what they gonna do? They're gonna verify the fact that you're not a citizen of the United States and know where you ever be.
Right.
Which the Dred Scott case specifically says that.
Yes, right.
That was the rendering of Judge Taney.
Yeah.
What they gonna verify? They're gonna verify the 14th Amendment has never been fully ratified. Give them the link that I gave you.
That's why the guy said he never got, when he learned in law school, I never got served. And if you move forward, you'd be in direct violation of constitutional right, because they cannot go up there and
That's
okay,
why
affirm that what you're saying is true. They ain't not gonna affirm.
Yeah.
The judge ain't gonna do it, or the DA ain't gonna do it, because they wasn't there.
That's right.
So nobody, there's no major party. What is to affirm? Nothing.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
So I see what he's saying. They ain't gonna do it.
Yeah. They ain't do
They ain't gonna do it because you put them
Right.
on the spot.
it. Even when the warrant, right? They gotta confirm it.
No, they're not gonna do it.
They gotta confirm it.
But they got a warrant, gotta have an affidavit to back it. You don't know that.
Look. I had a brother who was in St. Louis. He committed a robbery. At least they said that he did it. I did a rebuttal, or better yet, I did what was called a habeas corpus. All right. The DA responded. I said, "Oh shoot, okay." The DA actually wrote, "Oh wow, first time for everything." I tore that ass up.
For responding.
I put the 14th Amendment never fully ratified, Dred Scott case decision, all of that, and they know all of this.
Yep.
And dude was released. This was a federal. This was
Once you
federal.
get them with their own laws, there's rules.
Yeah.
All right. So that's how I know that this works, because I've done it before.
Yeah.
It says 6, an unrebutted affidavit becomes the judgment in commerce. So there's nothing left to resolve.
Right.
That's what it says. Nothing else to resolve. Any proceeding in court, tribunal, or arbitration form consists of a contest or a duel or commercial affidavit wherein the points remain unrebutted. In the end, stands as truth and matter to which the judgment of the law is applied. So basically, everything in which that they would say, you already rebutted it in affidavit form, and if they no longer rebut any of your statements, then that stands as truth in commerce. Excuse me. That's the judgment. That's the judgment. So this is actually the judgment is your affidavit. So not only is your judgment, your affidavit is a true bill, your unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in commerce. In fact, it also becomes the judgment in commerce. Okay. Then it says, in commerce, for any matter to be resolved must be expressed. So remember, we just finished saying that your affidavit must be expressed. Your truth must be expressed in the form of an affidavit. So in commerce, for any matters to be resolved, it must be expressed. So that means if you don't never express it on an affidavit or in an affidavit form, then that means that you acquiesce. That means you kept quiet, and therefore the charges being brought up against you must stand as truth, and therefore they make your body liable for the statutes in which that they claim that you violated.
But the same goes for the DA, right? We don't respond back to it.
Well, I mean, ain't nothing gonna happen to them if they don't respond back.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you just destroyed their argument.
Right.
That's the importance of this,
Right.
is to destroy argument and keep them within the bounds of their constitutional oath.
That's right.
I know the DA responding because the DA trying to outsmart you. That's why
Yeah, of
they
course.
responding.
But-
Thinking they better, you know what I'm saying? They try to be slick.
Of course.
Oh, he ain't that smart. And they try to age man for that.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what they looking for.
Crushed.
Right. They don't want you to be intelligent. Best believe that.
So it's not hard to write an affidavit.
No.
No,
Affidavit,
you gotta
the word affidavit is at the top and you state what you want to state on it.
Yeah.
stay on the live because you already know what means a verb or what's a noun now. So you know how to stay alive. bring them into, like you said, bring them into the land.
That's right.
All right. So number 8, he who leaves the battlefield first lose by default. So if you don't never respond with an affidavit, then what happens is that the DA won because you left the battlefield.
You talking about when they see
You never said you never responded to anything which that they said in written form. They did all this writing in order to get you into court, right? What did they write in order to get you into court? First one was the police officer or sheriff or state highway patrol. They sued you, all right, and brought you into court. So it was a lawsuit. That was a lawsuit. All right. When they give you a ticket, that's a suit. They sued you.
Yeah.
All right. That's the problem. Okay. So you never said anything to rebut that. You never said anything to rebut that lawsuit.
Right.
So you go to court, that lawsuit is still standing as number one evidence.
Right.
And then they come up and say, well, you understand the charges being brought up against you? And you saying yes. You accepting everything that they saying. It means you accept the violations of the statute that you violated, and they're gonna hold you to it. And now they're gonna hold your body in jail based on that violations, or prison based on that violation.
That's some bullshit.
Right. This is what they do, right? So that means that you left the battlefield first. You never even engaged in battle with the DA. That's what they did for. Remember, he's operating as the people. He's operating as the damn state. He's operating as the esquire, the lawyer, the attorney, the counselor, the... God damn, how many labels do this mug have?
Right.
And you just over there, you know what I'm saying, the defendant.
Yeah.
You're the defendant. And you don't know what's going on. You just shaking your head yes or no to whatever they say.
Right.
And that's what most people do.
Mhm.
Don't never give them an inch. You can, anyway.
So right now, like my daughter, they give it like, it was a little, that's what happened with you. What's that for? When you got a citation. So basically, they wrote when they give her a court date September. I can go ahead and write them tomorrow back with that letter and let them know that I'm not who you know what I mean.
Right.
Send them an affidavit with that right back with to that same address they wrote.
Do that, guy.
Go back and forth on them.
Do that. That's the point.
Go do that
Because it says this means that an affidavit which is unrebutted point for point stands the truth in commerce. See, they must rebut your affidavit point by point.
You mean respond?
Yeah, they got to respond, or they got to state why you say the 14th Amendment was fully ratified. I'm saying that it wasn't. You tell me that it was. Tell me why the Dred Scott case decision is not valid today, but yet you took your oath to the Constitution, which is almost 100 years older than the Dred Scott case decision. See, this is things in which that you have to be able to defeat them with is common sense.
Yeah.
And once you do that in the court of law, they just back down. I told you what me and Queen did. We had 2 DAs, assistant DAs, and they was like, when we get back in court, you're going to go in there and accept these charges and you're going to do such and such and such. And Queen just said, yo, we don't fall up under your jurisdiction in no shape, form, or fashion. In fact, the 14th Amendment was never fully ratified, and the Dred Scott case decision states specifically that I'm not a U.S. citizen, nor will ever be. So when we get back in court, you're going to dismiss these damn charges. That's exactly.
So they knew that.
Yeah. And as soon as we got back in court, oh, Your Honor, we're going to go in and dismiss these charges. And me and Queen looked at each other later. That's what we thought. See, they thought they were going to punk us by saying be acting tough and shit. We was like laughing at them. Like, yo, get up out of here with that shit. Soon as we got in court, oh, Your Honor, we're going to go in and dismiss these charges. They've been coming for such a long time and blah, blah. Yeah.
Because they don't want people to hear.
Right,
I see
right.
a video like that.
And me too. And then the judge, sometimes the judge will walk out.
No,
Yeah,
they're like, oh,
I had
man.
judges that walk up off the bench, walk out, all that undressed, took his robe off, all types of shit.
One judge asked the do is, man, I said, you, a lot of people come, but they don't say it right, but you came in right, man. How did you find that? You know how this and that the guy was saying? I said, man, that's smart, man. You know, all of a sudden the police had all the
A lot of
time.
them probably
You don't
don't
remember
submit
that.
affidavits neither though. When they come in.
You,
I mean, a lot of people who
they wrong though.
Huh?
They wrong.
Yeah, they probably don't submit affidavits neither.
That's white privilege. That's white privilege. You as a Negro don't try that shit.
Right.
That's what I'm telling you right now.
No,
Don't
I
try
said,
that.
Yeah. So a lot of people
Because
don't do it.
if you go in there and you state that I'm a Moor or anything like that, they're gonna give you a psychological evaluation.
Hey, look, I did it in Atlanta.
Yeah.
My lady put my paperwork in her as a warrant and everything.
Yeah.
Does that mean they account for other states too? That's in there?
Of course.
That state?
You saying if I do that?
So they'll be able to see
without-
it. They'll be able to see it.
No. They won't be able to see it. You need to get it from there and file it here. You need to file it everywhere that you stay.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of people probably don't do it.
All right. So right here,
Oh, you know what? I did file paperwork here too when I got some tickets. I never went to court, but I just filed paperwork. I didn't even go. I mean, it was just like this. I mean, they wrote me and I wrote it back basically.
so they must rebut your affidavit point for point because it hasn't been rebutted and has left the battlefield. Governments allegedly exist to resolve disputes, and the battleground for disputes actually is the courtroom. That's where you're supposed to have your duel at. You're supposed to do battle against the DA, and the judge supposed to be the referee, the administration, or the administrator. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to be doing. But see, he get lost in his job and try to issue law from the bench, which is a violation. He ain't supposed to be able to issue law from the bench. Your Honor, are you practicing law from the bench? And whenever you hear him say law, you say, Your Honor, are you practicing law from the bench?
Can't do that. The judge can't do it.
No, not a judge. Your Honor, it seemed like you being unfair and you practicing law from the bench on behalf of the DA. If the
What if
DA
they say I'm not?
if the DA needs to say something, shouldn't they say it themselves?
What if the judge says I'm not practicing law?
That's
My lady asked that question and said, I'm not practicing law about the business we said.
think
It's
about
still
it.
like a-
They on
Think-
record,
think
though.
about
They on
it.
record, so
Think
they
about
can't-
it.
They can't lie all over.
No, but that's in the superior court.
Yeah.
In district court, they can do whatever they want. That's a kangaroo court. There's no recorder. There's no stenographer there. So therefore, they can say whatever they want to say.
That's bullshit.
Is that
All right.
district court higher than Supreme Court?
That's district court. No, district court is lower than the superior
Oh,
court.
that's a little petty thing.
You have district court, then you have superior court, then you have appellate court, then you have federal court, then you have like the North Carolina appeal court. All right. Then you have the Supreme Court.
So district, you just got
These are the courts that you will have to go through.
So district court, you have to deal with them on paper then.
No.
Best time to do it.
Now you got to deal with paper affidavits on all of those levels. All of those, especially the Supreme Court. North Carolina Supreme Court, I had to write 9 judges. I had to write the same shit or copy off the same shit for 9 different judges. Package was this damn thick.
That's a lot, though.
So right now, I don't got nothing going on here, but still submit some more. I already submitted paper here. Okay. Should I submit more just to be have it in there? Some files?
Nah, get your papers from Atlanta or from down there and make copies of it and put it in
But see,
in Durham.
Oh, I do got
that's
copies
what
of
I
it.
need to.
I got
Yeah.
copies of it. I gotta start stacking up.
Should I put my paperwork in the counties that I got?
Of
charges
course.
in?
Of course.
I got all my paperwork at home. That's why I got file stamp copies from Georgia.
So I need to go ahead and do it.
So people who can take the dispute into court and have them all open up and resolved instead of going out and marching 10 paces and turning to kill or injure. In other words, you remember the dude back in the days, they always showed us the Wild Wild West. You had to see who's the fastest drawer, the fastest gun. So gunsman. So they would walk towards each other, then walk 10 paces back, and then whoever's the fastest draw. You know what I'm saying? That's how. So in order to stop that, allegedly, they instituted the court system.
So every time they shoot fires, you gotta shoot back. The paperwork.
Right.
Go ahead of them.
Your
Make sure
paperwork
before
is the
they put you
bullet.
in there.
Your paperwork, your affidavits are the bullets. All right, that's the sword. When they say that your pen is, they said that the pen is mightier than the sword. Your pen, that is your paper, your pen to paper, that is mightier than the sword. That's mightier than the gun. Okay. Sacrifice is the measure of credibility, not willfulness to sacrifice, no liability, responsibility, authority, or measure of conviction. Number 9, nothing ventured, nothing gained. A person must put himself on line to assume a position, take a stand as regard to matter of hand. And one cannot realize potential gain without without also exposing himself to those potentials, to the potential of loss. So basically, he who bears the burden ought to also derive the benefit. All right. Then we have going on 10, which actually is satisfaction of a lien. Because what is a lien? A lien is also the ticket that the police officer or sheriff or state highway patrol, that is the ticket. That is a lien. It also liens you. Remember, you have unalienable rights. So why in the hell is the police liening you? Okay. So it says in commerce, a lien or claim can be satisfied in only 3 ways. 1, by someone rebutting your affidavits, which they won't. 2, with another affidavit of your own point for point, right? Until the matter is resolved as to who is correct in case of non-resolution. So your affidavit rebuts anything on which that is said by the courts, specifically from the DA. All right, that messes up their whole scenario. Okay. You convene a sheriff common law jury based on the 7th Amendment concerning a dispute involving a claim of more than $20, or you can use disinterested parties to make judgment. 3, the only other way is to satisfy a lien is to pay it. So if you want to pay the situation, then that's up to you. All right. That's my ideology. I'm not paying you shit.
Like a traffic ticket or something.
Right. Why am I going to pay you, number 1, and I'm indigenous to the land, and I don't see no goddamn rent money or lease money every month from your asses. I see you trying to get money every month, got me paying damn electric bill, water bill, heat bill, light bill, all these damn bills. You know what I'm saying?
That would even work for the IRS too,
So
won't it?
look, I got a secret ticket in another state. I want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can write it. So you write your letter, write it back.
Right.
Email letters, and I had to go to court.
Write it back.
Like the charge, like I was 10 years old.
No, just
It
write
don't matter.
Write it.
Right. Yeah.
Like
A
you do that
lien-
with the IRS too.
Yeah. A lien or claim can be satisfied only through rebuttable. That's what it says. Only through rebuttable by affidavit, point by point, resolution by jury, or payment. Those are only 3 ways. And if you're not going to do payment, and if you're not going to do the resolution by jury, then it's your affidavit that must speak for itself.
Because I was hearing this guy, he's saying they're lenient to that because they made it the Constitution.
Yeah,
They're lenient. So they're trying to make it seem like weird. Like,
right.
oh, I got, you know what I mean? I got rights.
Right.
Because look, I'm telling them like the IRS too. The IRS come for you, you can write them affidavits too.
Yeah, of course.
You got them. It's an easy one though. For the IRS, it's easy. It's easy. Because they coming for the whole counts.
Who's to say they're gonna honor what I say though?
The IRS?
Yeah.
Man, they don't want no smoke. Because as soon as you sit
Who
in
say
there,
they're gonna honor what I say?
look, get a copy. of the
About
birth
what?
The IRS. If I owe them money, $10,000 for
Look.
not paying my taxes or something like that. I don't know.
Look, give them a copy of that birth certificate and send it back. That's what y'all looking for. And they know.
Who said they're gonna honor it though?
Remember what did I say?
They won't even take it to court.
Remember what I said in the beginning. The birth certificate is a settlement. All right, it's for settlement.
Right.
The birth certificate is a settlement certificate. That means you can utilize it to settle debt.
Right. You did say that.
So the birth certificate can be utilized because it's a bond. Remember?
Right.
So you get a copy, long form copy of your birth certificate, and you put paid in full or accepted for value, all right, front and back on the birth certificate, and you send that as a copy along with your UCCs.
Paperwork, right?
Right. All right.
Expect
And
them, no,
So what's
you
the
just
UCC? What's that?
Uniform Commercial Code.
Okay,
You remember the lady, the video queen, Bella? She
Bella
was talking
Harbor.
about that. They're here to protect us. That's what she was talking about. The code.
Okay, the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The commercial
All rights
code.
reserved. Right.
Well, that's just one aspect is all rights reserved UCC 1-308.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Right. So these are the 10 maxims of law. All right. This is how you have to use this information. It has to be expressed in the form of an affidavit. There's nothing else.
They're not going to respond. They will never take you to court because somebody will have to get on the stand and swear that everything on that paper is. They got to affirm that everything on that paper is real. True. Who's going to get up there? They don't even exist.
Yeah.
They got it's an entity.
Right.
So you have
Right.
to be-
Right. They got an expert.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got them after that.
Right.
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 There's nothing to argue
Right.
about.
Right.
Who you argue by yourself?
Right.
That's the point. These are points on which that you stop them from any argument.
What we saying is more deeper though. That's what I want.
Yeah, he get deep into the.
Yeah, I know some of it, but that's what
Yeah.
they talking about. That's what I need right now.
Yeah, everything is based on on the affidavit.
That's why it's so powerful.
That's why affidavit. Everything is expressed in the form of an affidavit. Okay.
That's what the queen was saying. Queen Valley, the
Yeah.
lady in the video,
Valahara.
she
Mhm.
said, submit your paperwork ahead of you.
Right.
No
Ahead
matter
of
what you do, put your paperwork ahead of you.
Right.
Always.
you. Right. Right.
He said, once you do that, you really ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to say much, you know what I mean? Say on
Exactly.
your square, that's it.
Exactly.
That's exactly what he said.
Exactly. Remember, I'm only here on the threat, arrest, or coercion. My paperwork speaks for itself. My affidavit speaks for itself. In fact, the DA has a copy of my affidavits. It was never rebutted. And according to the 10 maxims of law, an affidavit must be rebutted point for point. It never was. Therefore,
They will never rebut it.
right. It states specifically what? Once again,
My shit never got rebutted.
it says an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in commerce. An unrebutted affidavit becomes the judgment in commerce.
Yeah. They got to. Yeah.
That's why my shit ain't come popular.
Okay.
I wrote them a lot of affidavits.
So these are just some of the keys. Remember, ignorance of the law is no excuse. This is what we was told, but yet they don't teach law.
They don't teach you.
So, but yet you go to court and you hear them say that dumb shit. You hear them say ignorance of the law is no excuse. Okay, now I know the law. Now what? Oh, you're gonna sit your ass down now because I know the law, don't you?
Because even the Bible says that we like the people perish to the lack of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically, the Bible is talking about the knowledge.
Right.
I'm right here.
All right. So there's any questions before I close out?
Come on. You already got the affidavits thing. That's I mean the main thing. The affidavits.
And that goes with everything.
We gotta write one of them all.
It goes with everything. IRS, court, systems, any kind of.
So look, I must have missed a paper for her.
Anything which that you do not consent to.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
Anything.
Was,
Because every time that you write your signature on any paper, you have to put UCC 1-308 in your name,
Inside your name.
inside your name, right over it.
Yeah.
Put it first, UCC 1-308, then right over it,
Yeah.
your name.
Yeah.
You want to be always able to protect yourself
Yes, right.
so that you can violate that contract because you don't know what's the hidden print that's involved in that contract. See, commercial law is contract law.
Right.
It's maritime law.
Right.
All right. It's admiralty law. All of that shit is contract law. And the Constitution states that you can contract as much as you wish. It has no violation against contracting.
You don't have to consent to it.
Right.
Right.
So in order to protect yourself,
basically it's not a crime.
right. So you have to protect yourself. All right. And the only way to do that is put all rights reserved for UCC 1-308.
So you have to put all rights reserved?
I would.
Yeah.
Because they
You
reserve
can
their
say
rights.
all rights reserved or either UCC 1-308.
Cause look, they preserve theirs. I swear they preserve theirs. They always do.
So why not look on the birth certificate?
Okay.
Look on her, I'm
They
submitting her
send me all types
paperwork.
of letters, man. Child support, IRS.
Look,
everything.
when she got pulled that day, I'm submitting some paperwork. I gotta go put it in a thing. But would that fall on? Cause you know they took her gun. They gotta give her a gun back, right?
Yeah, they have to do whatever because there was no violation,
Okay.
you know. So
But when we submit it, when we go to court, that's what you gonna have to say. Ain't been
But
rebutted.
you know what? That server skill don't even pull up the nowhere though.
When he said,
They don't even pull up like don't even pull up
Yeah.
on YouTube.
what's that?
Share versus color.
Me and him gonna
Oh,
be there.
it don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's law.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what pulls up and what don't pulls up, guy. All right, I'm going to end class right here. Appreciate y'all
All right.
checking us out.
Yes, yes.
AIT watch to each to everyone. Peace, peace, peace.
I got a code for a
10
person.
maxims on law.
Oh, so I'm supposed to call a public defender, I think that's what it is, and basically get them to help me, but I don't want their help anymore. So do I just call them and like fire them, or do I have to write affidavit for that?
Yeah,
I
you have
do
to write it. Yeah, it's better to have it in a written form.
Matter of fact, we can write one out tomorrow.
Yeah, everything should be written in a written form.
Say, I am not, and just
All my tickets, everything.
put everything.
Everything.
Islam, Islam.